very good morning to you and welcome to the show. This is New Day, Saturday edition with me, Abna Tebi. Today is the 24th day of February 2018 and we're happy to be coming your way with another episode of the show. As usual, we're coming to you live from the studios of TV3 here in Accra. We're also live on 3FM 92.7 and streaming live around the world online at 3news.com, also on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana. We will be running from now till just about 10 minutes to the hour of 10 when conversations will be brought to a close. We invite you to, as usual, send in your contributions, your remarks, your concerns about the topics that we'll be discussing in the course of the program. I'll be outlining that very soon and you are invited to do so. It has indeed been an eventful week, a number of corruption-related stories making the news, but obviously the chart-topping one, or the showstopper, if you like, being the conviction and sentencing of Mr. Abugapele and Mr. Philip Azabit by the Financial and Economic Division of the High Court Accra yesterday. So let's do a quick run through today's topics, and this morning we'll be looking at the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index for 2017. Now, on a scale of 0 to 100, with 0 being corrupt, 100 being clean, and 50 being the average, and anything below 50 being bad in terms of corruption or attempts at fighting corruption, Ghana scored 40 on the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index for 2017. Now, this score ranked Ghana at 81 on a list of 180 countries. Now, Ghana shared this rank of 81 with 3 other countries, namely Turkey, India, and Morocco. Now, this score of 40 by Ghana is assessed to be the worst score in 6 years from 2012. The question is, what does this score of 40 on the Corruption Perception Index of Transparency International mean for Ghana and our fight against corruption, especially with recent measures put in place, such as the appointment of a special prosecutor to occupy the office of that special prosecutor? We will be asking these questions in the course of the program. And speaking of the special prosecutor, Mr. Martin Alamisi Amidu was sworn in this week as Ghana's first special prosecutor. The burning question is, what's next? How will the office of the special prosecutor and the occupant himself help with our fight against corruption? Now, TI, that is Transparency International, the organization that dropped the bombshell of our performance this year or last year, which ranked us as 81 and having scored 40 on its CPI, the Corruption Perception Index. We are asking questions about that. Now, Transparency International, in analyzing the 2017 Corruption Perception Index, had this to say, and I'm quoting, that the key ingredient that the top performing African countries have in common, and this has to do with Botswana, Seychelles, Cape Verde, Rwanda, and Namibia, has to do with political leadership that is consistently committed to anti-corruption. It also goes on to say that while the majority of countries already have anti-corruption laws and institutions in place, these leading African countries go an extra step to ensure implementation. End of quote. The question then is, will Ghana see an improvement or any improvement with our fight against corruption with the coming into force of the Office of the Special Prosecutor? Will we be seen to take the extra step beyond filling the position of the Special Prosecutor to actually resourcing the office adequately to ensure the achievement of the objectives of the office? That is a big question which is lingering on many people's minds. Will we put money where our mouth is? I guess it's only a matter of time to tell that. Then also up for discussion is the JIDA conviction and sentencing. Yesterday, the High Court Economic and Financial Division Accra, trying the case of Mr. Abugapele and Mr. Philip Azabit after 4 years of trial, finally delivered its judgment. The court convicted Mr. Abugapele on 5 counts of willfully causing financial loss to the state, abetment of crime, and intentionally misapplying public property. whereas Mr. Azabit was convicted on 6 counts of willfully causing financial loss to the state. The court, following the conviction, sentenced Mr. Pele to 6 years imprisonment, whilst Mr. Azabit was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment. The court also ordered the recovery of all assets and monies belonging to the state from the convicts. The trial came on the back of the corruption scandal that rocked the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Agency, JIDA, now the Youth Employment Authority, YEA, in 2012-2013. Does this conviction bring closure to the JIDA scandal, or it is only the tip of the iceberg? My panelists will be looking at this issue as well, and also we'll be looking at the Ghana School of Law recording an 81% failure in its 2017 graduating class. Now, for some time now, professional legal education continues to be in the news, while the agitations against the proposed LI by the General Legal Council seeking to regularize the new admission requirements into the Ghana School of Law was raging. News then broke of a mass failure at the Ghana School of Law in the 2017 bar exams. Now, out of about 474 students who sat the bar exams in May and September 2017, only 91% passed. Now, this has raised a number of concerns, with many questions being asked. We shall be interrogating this rather worrying development as well on the show. At this point, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will begin our conversations. I will also introduce, of course, the panelists for today's discussions. You're watching NewDay Saturday edition. Stick and stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to NewDay Saturday edition, live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, and we're live around the world online at 3news.com, also on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana. I'll quickly introduce the panelists for today's conversations, and we'll dig right into the topics. From my far left, we have Mr. Abraham Amaliba. He is a private legal practitioner, a member of the NDC communications team, as well as the legal team of the party. Next is Mr. Martin Pebu. He is a private legal practitioner. Next, we have Mr. Gary Nimakon. He is a member of the NPP. Also, he is a private legal practitioner. And last but not least, we have Naneji Bafuwa, also a private legal practitioner. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Good morning. It's good to have you.
Here today, you have assembled lawyers to come and bulldoze on the show.
I know. It happened by, divine intervention, I would say. Well, so quickly we'll move into the outline topics. But Gary, if you could just give us, just an update. We know the constituency elections of your party will start today,
that is correct,
till the 27th, I believe,
right. And
preparations are, of course, far advanced and everything. But we do hear of some injunctions in certain constituencies and all. Tell us, what are the implications of that in a nutshell? What's happening and how are you going to deal with the injunctions?
Well, Abuna, good morning to you. Good morning to my fellow panelists and let me say learner friends. And then your viewers as well.
Sure.
It's been a while since we came here. I think we're on a short leave, but we are back working for the nation. Well, today, I think nationwide, we're conducting primaries for the constituency executives and all that. And I think by and large, it's been peaceful. It's been peaceful. And obviously, just few areas, there are few hitches there and there. There are injunctions. Some of them are applications. And basically, once there's an injunction, in those areas, they can't take part in the primaries. And even if there's an application and you have been served the notice of the application, that one too, it means you cannot also take part in the primaries for today.
Right.
So I think it's a call on all the delegates that you should go to the various polling stations and vote peacefully. We don't want a situation whereby after the primaries, then we come back with incidents here and there. I think for some reason when we came earlier on, there were a few hitches here and there. I don't think that we need any drama in any of these, polling stations. It should be peaceful. I'm just from Kumasi. I was been there for the past almost 4 days, back and forth, And I think there too few areas you find some injunctions and then some applications. I just want to entreat them that those areas, they should just not proceed to do any elections for fear of contempt.
Right.
which can really disturb you if you proceed to do that.
And your party cannot, I mean, your party believed to be a party that respects the rule of law and everything. You can't be seen to be going contrary to
that is correct.
So
that is correct.
definitely.
You know, we are part of the rule of law. So by and large, that is what I think it's been good, it's been peaceful, well organized. But let's see what happens today. And I think that today, everybody should go there, vote peacefully, elect those people that you think can better serve, you know, the party's interests and also the nation.
Right.
And ensure things are done in a very peaceful manner.
Right.
So that my friends on the other side, Amalaba and Co., they always learn from us how we conduct primaries in our party in a very peaceful, very congenial atmosphere.
But you have some of your members, you know, having, you know, complained about the power play in there, you know, causing disaffection here and there. Obviously, I mean, these things do happen. And they are happening with this. How is the party?
You know that it's a human institution, and every human institution you will find problems here and there. I mean, nobody can say that we are not fallible. You know, that is the reason why the party has got an internal structure in the constitution to resolve grievances. It's a grievance procedure. Now, if for some reason you think that something is going on that you do not like, you must send a petition to the executives for them to deal with it, both from where you are, through the region, and even to the national. And the national will decide and rule all this matter. For those who are already in court, even before, I mean, resolving to the internal dispute mechanism, I don't know why, but I'm not here to argue their matter for them. Sure. But I think that because the party itself, in its constitution, provided for grievance mechanism, it will tell you that those who did the constitution realize that as a human being, definitely there will be problems. There will be problems along the line. Therefore, let's provide for ourselves a grievance procedure. So in the event of anybody having problems, go to the channel to have your problems resolved. So I think that even looking at it now, the areas that we are hearing of the problem, they are just minute areas. It's insignificant. Looking at the general nationwide trend, I think it's very insignificant. But by and large, I think it will take us to resolve all those problems so that at the end of the day, we can have a peaceful elections.
We do hear that a court in Oda in the Eastern region has placed an injunction on the Yasin Manso Akronso constituency. That is one, and then there are other constituencies. There are Blakema West, Ayawaso West, Takwan Suem, and Fomina.
Is there an injunction at Blakema West?
Slapped with similar injunctions. That's what I think the Deputy General Secretary, Lawyer Obi Wahinin, is reported to have said. I picked this up from
I'm not aware of Blakema West, but other areas I'm aware, Tema East.
Okay.
And then that one is an application.
Okay.
And then there's also an application to set aside the interaction. And other places. So let's see how it goes. But I think that if you look at it, it's just de minimis. These are just minor areas.
That can be dealt with.
And I believe that as a party, we are human beings. We can make mistakes. If you think that there are problems there and there, we can deal with the problems.
Very well.
But I think by and large, we can see that it's being well organized. And we wish them well. They should go and vote for people that they prefer can do the work properly in the interest of the party and government, so that at the end of the day we can all proceed.
Very well. TV3 will be definitely bringing an extensive coverage of that all around the regions. All 10 regions will be covering that, and so just keep an eye for updates in respect of the constituency primaries or elections that will be soon underway across the length and breadth of the countries by the NPP. We'll be moving on to look at, yes.
It's not true that the process that is ongoing has been peaceful. It is not true. We've had violence in some constituencies. Indeed, we've had situations where people broke into a party executive's home and to take materials, voting materials. That has led to them being charged for robbery. So you shouldn't sit here and massage.
So essentially, what he said was generally peaceful. Not to say that it was, generally peaceful. But like I said,
nothing has happened.
This is not up for discussion. Let's not
asking us to learn from them. We learn from what? We should learn from your bad ways.
Let's not detract from the topics that we outlined. That's why I limited it to him. We need to move on.
But he should be candid and fair with the facts. There were violence in some parts of the country. Guns were shot at.
Your point is made. We get
and
it
so
back.
You don't just come
Generally,
on to national TV and paint a rosy picture as if nothing has happened.
It's been peaceful. Let's just stick to the script now. We're moving on. We will be looking at the special prosecutor being sworn in or having been sworn in and the matters arising. We have a video or a tape we'll be looking at, and then we'll come back to the for the discussions in respect of how the special prosecutor is expected to do his work and what the challenges are, if any, and other matters arising. So let's just listen to the president's speech when he was swearing the special prosecutor in, and then we'll have Mr. Martin Amidu's response to that as well. Let's just take a listen. We'll be back with the panel.
Office of the special prosecutor to rise to the challenge and to the occasion and collaborate with other existing law enforcement agencies to fight relentlessly and help eliminate corruption in our public life. We expect the special prosecutor to discharge his duties vigorously, with courage, without fear or favor, ill will or malice, in accordance with the rule of law. The establishment of this office is for a high purpose and must not under any circumstances be used as an avenue for persecution or vengeance. The recent publication of Ghana's score in the 2017 Corruption Perception Index, organized by Transparency International, showing a further drop in our standing, a result largely based on, quote, the plethora of corruption allegations, exposés before the onset of this administration, indicates the enormity of the task ahead. It is noteworthy, though, that its local chapter, Ghana Integrity Initiative, in commenting on the report, has acknowledged that, and I quote, digitization is changing the ways we communicate and how we do business, and as a result, reduce the corruption rate in Ghana, unquote. The special prosecutor cannot do it all by himself. He requires the active cooperation of all the institutions of our state, as well as that of the general public, if he is to be successful in the fight against corruption.
I would not have accepted to come to this job if I did not trust Your Excellency's integrity and honor from our very long years of association from opposite sides of the bar. I have also given Mr. President my word of honor that I will discharge the duties of the burdensome office you have entrusted to my care with similar integrity and honor, with your support and assistance. Mr. President, I wish to assure you that the propaganda about witch hunting will not daunt me from prosecuting all corruption crimes without reference to political considerations. As you had yourself admonished, once a suspected offender is established by investigation to have committed offenses prosecutable in the national interest, I will treat crime as crime and nothing else. I thank you, Mr. President, and the Honorable Attorney General sincerely for the trust you both have put in me and in my capabilities. Above all, I wish to thank and assure Ghanaians that I will do my best to vindicate the trust that the whole nation put in me.
Okay, so that was the president in the speech, and also Mr. Martin Amidu responding to same at the swearing in of Mr. Martin Alamisi Amidu as Ghana's first special prosecutor. Quite a feat there. I'll start with you, Mr. Martin Kebu, on this one. So it's official now. We have the first special prosecutor of our land in place now. Lots of expectations. Now, the president in his speech said that the special prosecutor cannot do this all by himself. He requires a collaboration of various state institutions, and in fact, indeed the citizenry in general, and other things like that. What next? Obviously, it's time for us to put our money where our mouth is to show that we really want this to work.
Yes, exactly. So basically, now that he's assumed office, I think the next thing will be constituting the board of the office, yes, and then getting the deputies, and also hiring lawyers, investigators, and all those persons to make the office fully functional. In my estimation, I think that would take no less than 3 months. That would take no less than 3 months. But considering that we are still very excited, I mean, I'm sure we will have patience. You know, the goodwill is still very high.
But they say you need to hit the ground running.
Yes, yes. But I mean, he's alone. He's a manager of the office, so to speak. So it means that he will need his staff in order to be able to execute the job, you know. It's fine. It's fine that we're excited. Instead, I was just looking at our history and then looking at when Rawlings came, this house cleaning exercise, the way Ghanaians were on the streets, spurring him on that he should clean, he should get rid of corruption. You know, it's almost like the same state of affairs now. So my sense of the matter is that to the extent that the support is very high, we will be patient. We'll be patient for the office to be fully organized, because you're a lawyer, so you know very well that before you prosecute, you must have gathered the evidence well. If you don't do it, it means that the case is not guaranteed a success. And then that would, you know, and this same people supporting, in no time, if the work is not done, we will turn around and start bashing him. Yeah, so Mr. Hamidu has some time. And most especially...
Does he? Really?
Yeah. Yes, yes, he has some time. He has some time because he has to do it well. You know, the whole thing the whole excitement is also about his appointment, because we think that some of the shortcomings of the law have been made up by appointing him, because he has that stature, that strength of character, that profile. Yes, so we want to give some time, and then of course the next thing we should be watching, I'll just try and see the budgetary allocation.
Exactly.
Yes, how soon is it coming? And also, you know, we haven't had chance, perhaps later in the program we can pull up the figure and see whether it's sufficient to be able to make the fight meaningful.
And whether or not it's sufficient will be an indication of what our commitment to the fight.
Exactly, you're putting it right. That is it. That is it. So maybe we should go through the archives and get the figure. Very
well. Yes, we can pull that up pretty soon, and then we'll subject it to some interrogation some more. But quickly, let me come to Mr. Nimako here. This office, obviously, we can't you know, overestimate its importance and its role in our fight against corruption. I mean, we'll be looking at the Transparency International CPI very soon, but the president in his speech there made reference to that and saying that the fact that we have dropped gives more credence to the fact that we need to get this office up and running and getting it into action. Question is, how well resourced will this be? Mr. Kwebu has, you know, given some pointers there. Where is he operating from, for instance? He's been sworn in. Definitely he needs to take office. Where is his office? Who are in place to support him with, you know, setting up the office and all of that? These are very critical issues we need to know. Issues of logistics. They may come up as, you know, well, these are administrative things, but they go a long way to ensuring that we are committed.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Let me start this way. I think that essentially the president has demonstrated a very great political courage by appointing Mr. Martin Amidou as a special prosecutor in his government. First of all, Mr. Amidou is not a member of our party. Mr. Amidou is a full-blooded member, both a cadre from the earlier 80s all the way running to the 90s and into the 2000s, to the 10th General and the 10th General. He's a member of the NDC. Now, to take that route, and I'm all about to listen to me very well, to take that route, to appoint an opposition person as a first special prosecutor. Now, this is what the president was, that he should not use this office to pursue political vengeance. And the response was that this is propaganda. That people who think that he is coming to this office to pursue political propaganda or vengeance is a propaganda.
Well, he says that
in that is his response
about witch hunting.
Yes, witch
hunting.
Is
going to daunt him.
Exactly. Now, you see, it is easier for Mr. Martin Amidou to take a member of the MPP or member of the government to court because he's not a member of the party. Now, if you listen to his what do you call it, the vetting, there's something he said was very profound. He said when he indicts you, the people who even come and beg, he will add them as part of the case, i.e. as abettors, more or less. So the impression I get is that now, if there's a problem about anybody in government or anybody out of government and you are indicted, nobody can go there to go and beg. All you can do is just file a defense and appear before a judge. And you see, it is not an issue of Mr. Martin Amidu taking somebody to court and being himself a prosecutor and being himself a judge and being himself, it doesn't work like that. You must put the person before a court, put your facts and your law together, and let's see whether you can secure what? A conviction. So this witch hunting ideas and talk, to me, is neither here nor there. Because if you are going to do political witch hunting, you cannot concoct facts and say without evidence, concoction of facts, the person should be put before a court of law and secure conviction. It will not work. So that aside, now on the issue of funding, I think that this has been a much political campaign talk. The president has walked the talk by making sure there's a realization of that office now in place. It's a free SHS and other promises. Gradually, 1 year and a little months down the line, all these are coming to fruition. Now, it tells you that there are plans to ensure that this office has come to stay and the office will work. Don't forget that this office is going to do a lot of retrievals of monies. So, assuming they are able to make more retrievals, and even then the finance minister say, well, having done all these retrievals, maybe you can also add up this as part of your budgetary allocation, just to motivate the staff. I think it's also good. Look at that.
But that would be quite challenging, wouldn't it? Because then you are not sure of what you're getting to be able to work. Because, like you're saying, it's going to be contingent on what you recover.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that may be an aside. That may, as for the budget allocation, don't forget that they made sure this bill went through before the last budget was read. So it means that there's an allocation for it. If there's no allocation for it, then it means that the bill...
But the question is, would it be adequate? Because, I mean, this concern or these concerns are coming not in a vacuum. There are historical antecedents that suggest that it's not just about setting up an office. You're looking at examples with the Administrator General under the Presidential Transition Act, for instance. I mean, we heard this man complain bitterly. No, he didn't even have a car to go around to do his job. His office was ill-equipped. We also have stories about PIAC. PIAC, until recently, was suffering with funds. It had to take the donors to come in to support them. Even the AG's office is an example. We've had incidents where Chinese government or entities have had to donate computers at the time when we were fighting Galamsey, which at the heart of that, I mean, quote unquote, we had lots of Chinese people in there. So these are real facts. So we need to go beyond just saying, yes, there's an allocation. Question is it enough? Of course, the AG's office, for instance, has allocations, but it's definitely not enough.
Now your concerns are very, very legitimate. But you see, this office, there's a political will. The political will by the president is to fight corruption or to bring to the barest minimum. I have no doubt in my mind that the president will instruct his finance minister to ensure there is enough allocation for this office to do their work. Now, I'm pretty sure that also with the offices, because it's a new office, don't forget, it's a new office. They will need office in Accra, maybe in Kumasi, and even other regions. Because corruption is not only in Accra. Corruption could be happening somewhere in some little hamlet somewhere through procurement irregularities or through some village or whatever. It's not only in Accra. So I do share your sentiments, and I think really there has to be enough funding to ensure that this office doesn't come up and then there's now fought with financial constraints to the extent that the work cannot be done.
Exactly.
I mean, if that is so, then obviously it means that the rationale or the motive for setting up the office will come to naught. So I think there should be a conscious effort to ensure that there's enough budgetary allocation for this office to function effectively. But you know, once there's a political will, there's a way. You know, the president said it, they made a point that even the corruption perception index, to the extent that now, you know, prior to the government taking over, there's a lot of perception about corruption, you know, in the SO administration.
Prior to they taking over, what about now?
Prior to this government taking over. No, but this government, when it took over, every allegation has been investigated. That's why when we started the program, I started warning my brother Maleba that he should not take us back to matters which have been investigated, and there have been foreclosure on those cases.
Investigated by, I mean, we can
investigated by police, investigated by Shraj, and there have been foreclosures on those matters. We cannot be going back and forth, except you want to tell me that, well, Shraj have been going to the matter, maybe they didn't do the work well, or whatever it is. But to keep on rehashing the same point, even though the matter has been investigated and back and forth, and yet my brothers still keep on referring to the same matter we have been investigated. That's why I kept giving the warning before the show.
Warning.
That you should not come here today and come and rehash matters which are already been closed by our institutions. Because in one breath, they prefer to pick the same report from a different angle and rely on it. In another breath, the same report from the same agency of government, they say no, we don't agree.
Very well.
Back and forth. I think that we are all building a nation. We should not be seen to condone wrong. Once we have all agreed that corruption is the bane and is worrying our own people, we must do everything possible to ensure that we can do to minimize the effect of it. Because corruption, what can fix a road is going to a private pocket.
Exactly.
You see? So I think that once there's a political will, there's a way.
Once there's a political
and let's support the president, let's support Matiamidu to do his work and do his work very well.
But with that theory, once there's a political will, there's a way. Do you believe that?
But I cannot see the political will. What is the political will where you have a president who has a penchant for clearing his ministers even before a committee sits? Can you describe that as political will? Indeed. Look, we have been in this country where people have been shot, and I don't think there's any punishment higher than being shot. Yet we are still talking about corruption.
Yeah.
We have been in this country where courts were made up of judges who you will see their faces because they will cover their faces while talking to you, the alleged accused person. Has that scared anybody? So it takes more than just appointing a special prosecutor. As we speak now, I'm sure there's a policeman on my village road, which is dusty. I'm sure by now he has stopped the market vehicle which is coming to the market center and has taken some 1 cedi. Would Martin Abidu be there? So let's stop those things as if it's Uhuru. It's not Uhuru yet. But let me tell the president. He indicated that the drop, and you heard him, in the perception index was as a result of the doings of the previous administration. He has not read the report. There were 9 surveys. 2 of the surveys were in the previous administration. 7 of them, a whooping 7, was under this administration. And you say that it was a reflection.
Where is the report?
Go and read it. I'm not supposed to be telling you this. See, you are telling me that closure has been brought to certain matters, so I shouldn't sit here and talk about it. Was closure not brought to the Ford saga in Shiraj against the former president? Did you put a closure on it? We are less human beings, so who are we? If for you they have cleared you, we should not talk about it. You did not know who you were warning. So I think that the fight against corruption should be seen as a collective effort. Now, who polices people in public office? It is the citizens. And that's, I'm talking about who polices the policeman as well. It's the citizens. But if you have a citizenry that has a corrupt mind, how can they serve as a check on authorities who are supposed to deliver goods and services to the people? There are people in this country who will not go by themselves to the DVLA to register their car, will sit in their offices and give money out, knowing that their money can speak to them, for them. That is the corrupt mind of the individual as a citizen of this country. So, you see, yes,
that's how endemic it is.
That's how endemic it is. And I'm saying that it doesn't just take a special prosecutor.
What does it take then?
It takes a culture of the people.
A reorientation of the mindset.
That must be orientated. And so if you have not gotten that right, indeed, look, Martin Abidu could even pack his bag and go home and say that he's overwhelmed because the cases are coming and he's overwhelmed. He can, based on that, he says he's going to fight. But if he's overwhelmed, he's swam by.
But he's not going to do it alone.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you should be there. He should be there. I should be there. And that's what I'm talking about, the citizenry, the psyche of our people. Nimaku is not ashamed to tell me that, yes, they have appointed Martin Amidu from our side, and that means that the president has done well. When push came to shove, could you find one credible person in MPP to appoint? Could you?
But Mr. Maliba,
could you?
Mr. Maliba,
Could you?
I mean
could
that's
you?
Just wait a minute.
Could you get one single person?
Wait a minute.
And so
isn't it commendable, Mr. Maliba? Just a minute. Allow me, please.
You see,
no, you made a comment.
When he was on, and making NDC to look bad, you didn't intervene.
Oh, come on, Mr. Maliba. Let me just say this. Don't you think it's commendable with what the president did? I think he has received commendation.
They want me.
But I'm asking you something you've said. I'm asking you a question based on what you said. Don't you think it's quite commendable that the president did what he did, reaching out to the other side or crossing over to the other side to pick somebody of that stature? Somebody, I mean, true. Everyone knows that indeed Mr. Martin Alamisi Amidu has been at the forefront of the fight against corruption in his own capacity as a private citizen.
So
isn't that commendable?
So you end it there. You don't rub it in our faces. If you rub it, this is a political show too. Here, this is a political show. This is not a Christian evangelical program.
No, but how is it being rubbed?
We are not here to talk about religion. This is a political show. He's giving me a jab. I have to respond to him. And I'm telling him that when push came to shove, could they find one person? Even though they brandish us as corrupt, as NDC as corrupt, but they still could find an individual in NDC who is credible. That's the response I have for you. Okay. So if you have a project and you think it is a national project, let it remain as that. But if you want to rub it into our face, I will tell you that because you are not credible, all of you, that's why you came to the NDC and picked somebody.
That is just, I mean, let me just, it's coming. I think that is just, we'll take that on the lighter side. Because really, I don't care how you take it, but the point, very well. I think I will move, yes, please, I don't think you need to respond because it will just go back and forth needlessly. But let me go to Nana J here. And you give us your perspective on this. He's been, appointed, now he is the first special prosecutor of Ghana. He needs to move on. He needs to get the tools to work with, and yes, and other things. I mean, he needs to. The president talks about the fact that he needs the support of all institutions, but also to be able to work. I mean, there's the need for the right to information bill, for instance, to be passed, because then citizens can then contribute their quota in that regard. let's hear you on this whole myriad of issues.
Now, good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners, and to my friends here. I think that the appointment by the president is very bold. It's bold in two ways. First and foremost, keeping a campaign promise, which we rarely see politicians do in this country. I mean, when they want our vote, they will say all sort of things, but when they come to power, they don't, fulfill them. But what the president has done, for me, is very commendable in that regard. It is not just limited to the setting up of the office alone. As I said, it's also commendable in other ways. And the choice of Martin Amidu to lead the office also points to a certain level of sincerity, in the fight against corruption. Ordinarily, somebody would say, I've created the office. I've kept my campaign promise. I've found somebody there. So, I mean, when the person is listing his achievement, he would then say that, I said I'll set up an office of special prosecutor. I did it. Now the person there is supposed to take up the battle against corruption.
Yeah.
And so if the person is not doing it, you can't come and blame me. But he's going to step further to appoint Martin Amidu, who, even in his own government, we saw how he battled corruption. Indeed, a lot of people had forgotten that he put together the docket on the quality grain case. And they make the allegation that it was President Kufuor who used it as a political to persecute his opponents. People didn't even know, and indeed, he reiterated it at his vetting that he commenced the investigation on the quality grain case because he had advised against that transaction. And so he's a man of a rare stature that we must all be happy to have been appointed into that position, particularly by the president. But, I agree. When we tend to discuss the office of the special prosecutor, we make it seem as though it's an office which is just meant for this political regime. And so, therefore, the political will of Nana Addo is enough to sustain the office, to the extent that he, is happy to have that setup and that appointment. He's going to commit resources. But beyond him, what happens? I'll cite the example of the EFCC in Nigeria under Yar'Adua. We saw the kind of prosecutions that went on.
They went after everybody.
They went after everybody.
Right.
Then Yar'Adua died, and the whole fight came down. And so when we are discussing the office of the special prosecutor, we should be looking at it beyond the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. There's something very beautiful about this office of the special prosecutor. When you look at the composition of the board, you realize that it's the convergence of all the security agencies that were formed over the years or have been formed over the years to battle corruption in one way or the other. For instance, you have the one representative of the audit service, not below the rank of a director nominated by the Auditor General. You have one representative of the Ghana Police Service. We know what the Auditor General does, auditing public accounts. We know what the police service is also supposed to do. You have one representative of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, not below the rank of a director. You have the representative of the Financial Intelligence Center. You have the representative of the Commission on Human Rights and Administration. So it's a convergence of all the security agencies that over the years have been formed by statute or the constitution
to, in their own way, deal with
corruption. And so, if you like, you would say it's the valve. The office of the special prosecutor is supposed to be the valve to shorten the flow of corruption or the operation of corruption in this country. But I would agree with my colleagues that it is not enough. Look, when we tend to discuss corruption in this country, our lenses quickly focus on the political office holders. But the political office holders are a minute fraction of our society. They come from within us. And so they represent who we are. When they stand in the mirror, they see us. And when we stand in the mirror, we see them. And that is why over the years, regardless of all the steps that have been taken to fight corruption, we are not able to bring we are not able to achieve milestones, major milestones in the battle. Yes, since independence, right, every battle for power in this country has seen major reliance on the fight against corruption. Everybody, it's always a campaign banner headline where you say, this party is corrupt, let's kick it out. If it has
and most of the time, governments are kicked out because of their alleged or perceived corruption.
Exactly. I mean, 1966 coup in Nkrumah's government has said to have degenerated into a level of corruption. Then, you know, all the military coups, corruption. Yet we are not achieving results. The Office of Special Prosecutor, is it going to achieve results? Prior to this office, there had been PIAC, as you said. There had been Yoko. In fact, when you look at the Yoko Act, in terms of their operation and functions, apart from the Office of Special Prosecutor being a specialized office, it's the same. Apart from the Office of Special Prosecutor being a specialized office, when you look at the Yoko Act, I don't think it's significantly different.
That's why we're excited about Mr. Amidu.
Exactly.
So
but that is why I'm saying that it is not going to be enough, because you are looking at Amidu as an individual. Beyond Amidu, there is going to be an office and a different person occupying it. I think that the battle goes beyond the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The excitement has to do with, yes, you know, there were a lot of allegations of corruption in the NDC. And so we are going to get an Office of Special Prosecutor that is going to go after people who squandered illegally allegedly squandered state monies. So that is where the excitement is. That excitement is also akin to the feeling we had when Jerry Rawlings seized power.
Which is what
and then he was going after people, let the blood flow, they are thieves, and so on and so forth. We all, when we are out of power, we all see thieves in power, but we don't see thieves outside power. When government changes, mostly everybody in power leaves office, and a new crop of Ghanaian take over. And those people also become thieves.
It's interesting because even in a democratic regime, when governments change, the way we behave or treat it is as if it's a coup d'etat.
Exactly.
And that's quite...
And so one set of thieves have left office, a different set of thieves are coming, but we are still hopeful.
So then the question is, how do we get it right? Because you're talking about a similar euphoria which was experienced back in the day is what we're experiencing now with the coming into office of Mr. Martin Amidu as the Special Prosecutor. So then, beyond political will, what can we have, or what can we do?
I would have suggested education, mass education from primary level to secondary to university. But I still think it's not enough. The white man, I'm coming. The white man in those advanced countries, they are all equally corrupt. The difference, yes, the difference is the systems. Now, Donaldo, in his address, in his speech, when he swore in the Office of Special Prosecutor, mentioned the digitization, which is very commendable. It reduces the human interface in the system. But I also think that beyond it, the police service, the quality of materials that are being recruited in our police service these days are even questionable. Okay, our judicial service, where prosecutions, where justice is delivered. I think that we need to look at those sectors. We need to look at various sectors of the state, right, and look at how we can improve on the quality of personnel there, as well as their independence, so that they can deliver and fight corruption. They can fight corruption without fear or favor. Today, the policeman who is supposed to arrest a politician is the bodyguard of a politician. Some of them even pound fufu for their wives, just so they can have good lunch. I'm telling you. No, beyond this.
This is serious
and it's not just limited.
Policemen pounding fufu.
Look, in the last administration, we saw a policeman holding the bag of a female minister. A policeman holding the bag of a female minister. Where is the confidence of that policeman? So it's not far-fetched for me to say that they pound some bodyguards pound fufu, because we saw a policeman holding the bag of a female minister.
So that was something you saw, but
yes,
the pounding of
I'm
fufu,
saying
we can't
that,
really speak to that.
I mean,
so
it's just an example.
No,
You give
is
your
it-
back, your aid de camp so that you can do something. What is wrong with that?
Everything is wrong with it.
Yes.
Why?
Everything is wrong
Yes,
with it.
carry
We
on.
shouldn't
Why?
trivialize matters in this country.
Mr.
Look,
Maliba, allow him. You asked him a question. Allow him to.
We
Yes.
need to look at the fight against corruption holistically. In some, one, we need to do self-introspection as by ourselves. We are corrupt as a people, from our churches to our mosque to the streets. We are corrupt as a people. Let's do an introspection,
Very well.
because the people who occupy all these offices are Ghanaians. And then let's look at ways of building
Very well.
systems to fight corruption.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
a little reaction to what my brother just said. You see, if you look at the act carefully, you will see a paradigm shift from the old regime into a new regime. What you see now is that the person has now the mandate to prosecute offenses whilst you are in government and whilst you are out of government. Okay?
But there was
But
no law against
exactly,
You know-
that was. I
you
know
know-
that there's
Wait,
nothing.
wait,
yes.
listen to me, listen to me.
But that isn't a
You
paradigm
see, you
shift.
see, you see,
No, Mr. Maliba, take it
you see,
easy.
you see,
Mr. Maliba,
you
take it
see,
easy.
you see, you will agree with me. You'll agree with me that it's been a very awkward situation to see an attorney general prosecuting itself. All right.
Honestly,
And you have seen-
I don't buy that argument about awkwardness.
Abna,
seriously.
can you
I can
tell
allow
me
you
or give
to-
me examples over the years? How many attorney generals have been able to prosecute members of the government whilst in power?
It hasn't been
Nana
many, but
Misa was
yes, but it hasn't.
It's
it
only
hasn't-
one incident
yes.
that another
Well, but Gary,
You understand?
the point is this: it hasn't been many, yes, but to say that it is awkward, and so I think it's a bit problematic.
That has
Are
been-
we in there to do the job,
Nana,
or
Abna, that has
to
been
tolerate?
party
people doing certain
Abna,
things?
listen, that has been the subculture. You see, let us not pretend as if that's not been the issue. That's been the subculture. Now, with Martin's mandate, it is very clear that you can prosecute whilst even the government is in office.
I think that point we need to make clear. If you say that for the special prosecutor, the act gives that provision, whereas you're making it seem as though previously it wasn't, that isn't necessarily the truth. The point is, yes, people in the past, for whatever reason, have felt, like you're saying, awkward to do that. But that
Yes.
isn't to say that they didn't have the mandate to do what they had to do.
That is the point I'm making.
It's always been the case.
You see,
It's just we refuse to act appropriately.
we are saying the same thing. The bottom line.
I don't think we are saying the
You
same
see-
thing.
Well, you don't say they are saying
You see, the bottom line,
I don't think they're saying the same thing, yes.
bottom line is that, and get me very clear. Don't misread what I'm saying. The bottom line is that I'm saying, with this appointment and the way the act has been structured, it simply means that the office can prosecute offences whilst you are in government and whilst you are out of government.
You're saying
So
the
it
AGs
simply means
couldn't have
that
done that. The AG's office couldn't have done
AG
that.
could have done that, but
Yes.
give me examples of how many cases our attorney generals have been prosecuting whilst the same government was in office.
That's I get
How
that,
many?
but that isn't to
You
say
see,
that
so-
the act doesn't give the officer in charge the provision or the space to do that.
We are talking about practicalities on the ground. What actually happens on the ground? You see, for now, that is why I find this appointment very profound. The person appointed is not party, is not part of this government, is not a member of the party. Is an outsider. Let's see how it goes, but let's all give the person the support that office deserves, so that at the end of the day, if somebody is found to have done something wrong, even while the government is in office, the office will have the nerve to say, look, Officer A, Officer B, Officer C, in this particular
Following foul
administration,
of the law, let's deal with you.
this is crime, and I'm going to treat crime as crime, devoid of party, political callous. So whether you are MPP, whether you are NDC, whatever it is, let's see how this particular office will operate for now. But I think we should all give, the Mr. Amidu, the morale so that he succeeds. I think if he succeeds, Ghana succeeds.
Ultimately,
because what he's going to do, he's not going to do a personal work or personal vendetta operation.
Very well.
Okay, right?
Small point, we'll go on the break and then we come back here quickly.
Have we as Ghanaians asked this question before? That why is it that when a policeman stops somebody driving on our roads, the first thing that comes to mind is to go, you can see it even at trotro drivers. The first thing, when they stop, the first thing is that they take something, I don't know whether it's money or not, I've never seen it, and put it in their card.
Whatever it is,
and then hand it over. But that same person, when he travels outside, why is that he doesn't do that?
Exactly. I mean, you only do things when you are allowed to do them.
I have told you that it is about reorientating our people. That is key. Because it is we who check the politicians, the citizenry. And if the citizenry is not even sophisticated enough and is deeply involved in the acts, how can we uproot it?
Very well.
So I think that reorientation for me is the key.
That's true. We need to have a reorientation of the mindset of the people, but also we need to look at how best the institutions can work to eradicate this canker. We'll take a break at this point. When we come back, we'll have concluding comments on this, and then we will move to our rating on the Corruption Perception Index. You're watching NewDay Saturday edition. We'll be right back.
You see?
Welcome back. This is NewDay Saturday edition, live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, and online we're streaming around the world at 3news.com, also on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana. We'll be wrapping up on the conversation about the swearing in of Mr. Martin Amidu and what next after the swearing in. Mr. Martin Pebu will wrap up on that conversation, and then we'll go straight into the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, which ranks Ghana at 40, and indeed we placed 81 on the table. Mr. Martin Amidu, wrap us up on the Mr. Martin Amidu, exactly. And
okay, yeah. So my last thoughts are that the board, you see, to the extent that we're so excited about the appointment of Mr. Amidu, I equally think that in appointing the members of the board, the president and the attorney general should look for such caliber of persons that will exude confidence. You see, persons that we would be able to easily verify their track records when it comes to what do you call it?
The fight against corruption.
The fight against corruption, because you know, as my brother Bafo said, confidence levels. You see, when the confidence level is high, of course, so many other things are likely to go well. That is it. And then also, finally, in the act, there's provision that the office should take 30% of any revenue that they recover. So that is something we'll be looking forward to, so that the office will get more resources apart from the budgetary allocations
and the grants that are to be approved by the Minister of Finance and all. But it's interesting with the recoveries. I mean, so it depends. I mean, how much you get in terms of the 30% depends on how much
you recover,
how active you are in terms of convictions and recoveries. Which cannot necessarily be used to budget for an institution, because those are what ifs. So if we do this, then we'll get this. If we do that, which really cannot be the foundation of funding. But of course, like you're saying, it goes to complement or supplement what is coming in terms of the allocations from there. Is it the common fund or the consolidated fund? Yes. We'll be looking at the Corruption Perception Index by the Transparency International, which ranks Ghana at number 81 on the list of 180 countries, but Ghana scoring 40, which is pretty much a bad score on that scale. But before we go into the conversations, let's take a listen to something on the Corruption Perception Index. I'll get back to the panel after this.
For this 2017, we have 13 surveys that were used. Out of the 13 surveys, 9 of them covered Ghana. Out of the 9, 2 of them covered the year 2016 and 7 in the period 2017. So every CPI can only have a maximum of a survey within the period 12 to 24 months. So that's what happened. So we have the CPI for 2017, and Ghana performed not too good. Ghana actually dropped so far as our score is concerned. The most important thing on the CPI is the score. And so on a scale of 0 to 100, Ghana scored 40 out of 100 points. And then it means that in 2016, we scored 43. In 2017, we have scored 40. In 2015, we scored 47. So cumulatively, we have dropped 7 points from 2015. And we have dropped 3 points from 2016. And then since the CPI became comparable from the period 2012 to now, this is the worst performance that Ghana has had. Last year, we said 43 was our worst performance. This year, 2017 CPI, we are saying Ghana's performance from 2012 is the worst so far. In terms of the African region, for instance, countries like Botswana continue to do better than us. The Rwandans did better than us. We did better than other 30-something states, but yet we perform lower than other 6 countries. Countries that have performed very well on the CPI over the last 6 years include Cote d'Ivoire and a number of others. But then Ghana's performance has dropped. And so when we are able to get a gains of the new initiatives, the paperless economy, the digital addressing systems, and the powers of the Auditor General to do the disallowance and surcharging, and then the Office of Special Prosecutor that has come on board, the NACAP implementation. If all these initiatives work very well for us, we are hoping that in a year, 2 years, 3 years to come, we should see a rise in Ghana's CPI score.
So that was Madam Linda Ofori-Kwafo, the head of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, which is a local chapter of the Global Coalition Transparency International, the coalition that put out the Corruption Perception Index for 2017, which saw Ghana having a score of 40. As you heard from Madam Kwafo, that wasn't the best of scores. Indeed, it's bad, to put it bluntly. It's not good, because you're looking at a scale of 0 to 100, with 0 being very corrupt and 100 being clean. If you're at 40, you're missing the average mark. So those are some of the things we need to unpack here, just to set the perspectives for the conversation here. So Ghana scored 40, making less than 50, which you could say is the halfway mark. Now, looking at the Transparency International report and the analysis of their findings, I came across some interesting things which I think we can discuss here. I'm trying very hard for us to depoliticize this issue, to look at it as a national thing and how best we can deal with it. So Transparency International, in the analysis of their research, stated, and I'm quoting here, that further analysis of the results indicates that countries with the least protection for press and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, also tend to have worst rates of corruption. In other words, Transparency International is asserting a certain correlation between a country's level of corruption and the level of press freedom and or civil society activism or awareness. That is, restricted press leads to, or there's a corresponding effect on the levels of corruption. Now, against this background, I find it quite intriguing that for a country like Ghana, with a relatively vibrant media, which, consistently, we've been rated high by Freedom House, for instance. Freedom House, Freedom House would do, exactly, the most free, exactly. The media in Ghana is rated as free, no restrictions. So that you would expect a certain effect on our fight against corruption, but we're not getting that. We are within the categories of countries like Turkey, which is worrying. For a president like Erdogan doing all that he's doing in Turkey, you find Ghana in that kind of company. It's quite worrying. I would want, Nana, start us off with that. Why is it that Ghana doing so well in terms of media freedom, not doing so well in the fight against corruption? First of all, tell us if you believe there's that correlation, that if there's a vibrant media or the press is free, there's a certain effect on how corruption is, perceived or is actually occurring in a country.
I think that to some extent there's that correlation, because where there is that expose and there are institutions to deal with it, it serves as a deterrent, and so therefore people become careful as and when they are engaging in one act of corruption or the other. But in our case, what you discover is that there is always media expose on acts of corruption, but we tend not to do anything with, we tend not to do much about it. And so, if you look, for instance, at happenings over the last 10 years, there were constant exposés on corruption. The Woyome issue, the Waterville scandal, Isofoton, the JIDA, and so on and so forth, then came to this administration. There have been constant exposés, right? What makes it even worse with this administration is that you have people within that administration who are always on radio and television, criticizing or making allegations of corruption against the same government, which sometimes reminds me of what pertains in some democracies, particularly in the UK. You realize that the attack on the front bench always comes from the back bench of the same political party, which is beautiful, because then it goes to show that there's some checks within the same government. And so,
but beyond just
beyond the expose,
otherwise it's
beyond the expose, then you realize not much is being done. Hence, our free press and civil society activism not having much impact in terms of the fight against corruption.
Right.
But I think there's some hope. One person that gives me hope in this country is the Auditor General. And the Auditor General's activism, apart from his appointment by John Dramani Mahama, at the point where some of us thought that, look, yes, I was one of the people who
given
thought
that it was late in the term.
Yes.
There was nothing, yes, definitely.
You notice that the powers of the Auditor General, which is derived from the Audit Act,
and the Constitution.
And the Constitution. The powers to surcharge and so on and so forth had been dormant. The exercise of that power had been dormant for a while until Occupy Ghana went to the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
And so there's some hope.
Exactly.
Now, when you look at Citizens Ghana movement, for instance, at the time when people thought...
Please hold your thoughts on the Citizens Ghana movement and still on the Auditor General thing. You see, in your earlier submission about Mr. Martin Amidu, you talked about the fact that it goes beyond the person. We have Mr. Domelevo, who is currently in the seat of the Auditor General. He seems very, vibrant in the position, wants to do things, but obviously there'll be a time, or there'll come a time when he will not be there and you have somebody else in there. So institutions as against the person is what is needed.
I agree with you, but when you look at the powers of the Auditor General in terms of surcharging, illegal expenditure, it's the first time it's been kicked in since the interpretation by the Supreme Court. And so we would want to believe that now that Auditor Generals know that power is available to them, that activism will not be limited to just Mr. Domelevo. Yes. Now, we also know that years after discussion on freedom to the information bill, a court could have said that beyond that act, or the non-existence of that act, did not limit a person's right to access certain information. And so it is gradual. We are building up. I think that we shouldn't be rushed. Ghana's democracy is fairly young. And we are still in the evolving stage. We are building institutions and so on and so forth. Otherwise, yes, it is true. Free press should limit the extent of corruption in the system, because it will come up, it will be dealt with, and then it would reduce the amount of corruption in the system, because there will be deterrence. Indeed, over the years, when you look at the exposés that have come up at the public account hearing, for instance, nothing has been done about it. For the first time this year, you realize that Parliament said, look, until the recommendations of the committee to deal with such acts are incorporated into the report of the committee, they are not going to, deal with the report on the floor of Parliament. So things are changing gradually. There is hope, okay? And so let's continue to encourage free press. Let's continue to encourage civil society activism. and then we are going to get there. One of the challenges, for instance, in the area of free press is, yes, as much as the proliferation sorry, of media houses are good, you tend to find out that journalists, for instance, are poorly remunerated. And if such a journalist encounter someone who is well endowed, a public officer who is well endowed, he can easily compromise them in terms of some reportage to expose him and so on and so forth. We should also be, and therefore, it calls for attention in that area, making journalists, you know, properly or well remunerated, you know, to enable them and undertake their job without the risk of being compromised. And so, in that regard, I will agree with you. But in our case, there is hope. There is hope. It is not that bad.
Very well. Let me move to Mr. Mali, but still on that issue. If you do believe that there is that hope, that Nana seems to think there is that hope.
Well, you talked about a free press and indicated that Ghana enjoys freedom of the press and the media, but yet we have gotten these results. I think that you could have a free press, but if the press, a section of the media, refuses to hold government accountable and looks the other way while these acts are going on, you could also get these results. So yeah, there could be a plethora of media houses. There could be a rise in people's participation in national issues.
Right.
But if the media also does not throw light on some of these things, then you could also have the same result. For me, I think that what is key in this case is for the media to name and shame. You say we shouldn't politicize, but I wonder how I can do this without politicizing, being a politician. Because there have been some alleged acts of corruption under this administration. If it had happened in the NDC time, I'm sure that government would have fallen flat. I'm talking about cash for seats. We became an international ridiculed nation.
But there were also some allegations during the NDC. And
oh, that's why he mentioned them.
Yes.
He mentioned,
so that's what I'm saying.
He mentioned Wyoming and those things. So
anyways,
I have no problem with that. I've not sort of countered him. I'm just saying that. So if in this administration we find that there's a blind eye on some of these acts, then the allegations of corruption will continue to fester. And that, for me, is what is happening now. There is also the paradox of exposure in fighting corruption. There's that concept, paradox of exposure, which is you as a government will say that I am going to fight it. I will expose it. And as he indicated, leading members of the MPP are throwing light on acts of corruption, thinking that that will be a way to fight the canker. But it goes to reinforce the perception among the citizenry that actually are corrupt. That's why one of you is saying this. And so there is the need to tread a fine line. That fine line is, look, the media should be robust, because this shame that we have reduced in rank is as a result, is something that touches all of us, even the media. So they must be robust. There must also be this eagerness on the part of government authorities to allow the security agencies to work with free hands. And then also, we as citizens should be ready to provide evidence to support some of the allegations we make.
Speaking of citizens providing evidence,
yes,
then I mean, of course, you can't talk about that and not mention the RTI, because all of those
exactly, because they need that too. But you see, the problem with the CPI this year is that it is an aberration from the norm. The norm has been that anytime there's a new government, our this thing increases. Our, what do they call it?
The ranking.
The ranking increases. Anytime there's a new government, because it is perceived that the new government comes with the zeal to fight corruption. But this is the first time that we've had the first year of a regime, and yet the rankings are low. So that means that the president must watch his utterances, and the only way Martin Amidu can work and work effectively is to allow the processes and the institutions to work without interference. Those pronouncements that comes from the president, he thinks that they are light ones, but they are so hefty that they have an influence on what the committees and the security agencies do. So I think that we need to look at the media again. The media that was so robust. Look at how the cash for seats has died, a natural death. And look at how Wayomi has been on the silver, on the plate all these years and is still on. I think that the media must up its game, must be robust under this administration, just as how they were in the previous administration.
I don't think it's a fair, well, it's your opinion, exactly, but I don't think it's a fair representation of what the media is doing, because the media covers everything and covers it as it happens and as it plays out. So to the extent that the cash for seats came up, the media did its job, covered it extensively, and it went all the way to the point of parliamentary, the committee that was set up to look into it and all of that. I know, Gary, you're eager to speak, but I will go to...
Before you go there, I'll forget my points. Let me respond to Amaliba, then we can now go to Martin.
Quickly.
You see, my friend Amaliba, when you say cash for seats or other corruption allegations, more or less, I'm sure under the carpet, the first point is that, you see, mere allegation, it does not make proof of any crime. You see, who you allege ought to prove. You are a lawyer, you know that. If you make an allegation, this so-called cash for seat, they came and said there was an extortion. They came and said there were levies and charges. These were the charges before the committee. Then when you see the committee, they gave all Ghanaians a live, rendition of the entire program. We all watch it. How then do you now chastise the media for not, opening up or maybe reporting on all matters which are put in the public domain? This was given live coverage in this country, and we all saw it. Now, it has turned out that the so-called extortion or the so-called levies and charges were not what really transpired. So what again? Are you now talking about the same cash for seat? You see, that's why I kept saying that for my brothers in the other side, even when the body has been able to go into the matter, the person has been cleared, they will still insist that they will still want to talk about it. But that, I think, we should just leave for them. Now, on the issue of media silence or the issue of press freedom, I think there ought to have been a correlation between corruption, perception, and the vibrancy of the media. Because it's a corruption perception index. That means it is a perception. You perceive that this is what is happening. Now, without the media talking about it, or without that canker being exposed, how does the perception thrive? I think it is a plethora of the noise that is going on that makes somebody sit back and say, oh, waiting, there's a perception that this government is corrupt or that government is not corrupt. So for it not to have a different dichotomy, or you don't have a direct correlation in the report, I think it's problematic. But
the analysis also looks at efforts at dealing with the issue. So in as much as, yes, there's the perception there, what is government doing to stem the tide?
Right. So I think that moving forward, if you look at it carefully, if 40%, dropping from 47 to 43 and then to 40%, I think if you're in a law school examination, they will say that maybe you are far, you will have failed, isn't it?
Oh yes, totally.
Isn't it? 40 you will have failed. So
by the university you will pass.
You get a C, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I think that it's something that is quite worrisome, and it is no wonder that the president has taken a bold step to take certain steps to ensure that this so-called perception is brought to the barest minimum. And I'm also very sure that that is also amounts and also bring to the fore the fact that at this stage the appointment of Martin Amidu is a good call in the right direction to ensure that he brings on board his experience, he brings on board his zeal, his willpower, his dexterity to ensure that as he's coming now on board at this stage, he will lead the charge. He will lead the charge to ensure that both people who are in government and out of government at this stage of our political dispensation, you know, if who are accused of anything, you see, of corruption, will be brought to the book.
Right.
The bottom line is that it is not just a mere allegation or just getting up to shout, there's corruption here, this man is corrupt, that woman is corrupt. It's about providing evidence to back the allegation. You must provide evidence to back the allegation.
Right.
And you should be prepared that once you make the allegation and you are called upon to come with evidence, you must go with evidence. Sure. But the idea that even when you know, constitutional bodies or police or whatever, they even investigated the matter, bring out the report, clearing people, then people are still talking about it. I don't think that's the way to go. But by and large, once you have all agreed that we want to ensure that corruption is brought to the barest minimum for the benefit of our own people, to ensure we can do roads, we can do infrastructure, we can do provide healthcare and all manner of things, we should ensure that we chart that path so that it doesn't appear as if, yes, we are just talking, but we are not walking the talk.
Very well.
I think the president is determined to walk the talk. That is why it's not a mere campaign promise that he will do it. He has actually gone ahead to do it, set up the office, and I'm sure that going forward, Ghanaians will see the benefit of the work.
Very well, and that's the thing, it's just a matter of time, and only time will tell. So hopefully next year's CPI would see Ghana, you know, move high up on the scale. And just as
I can predict that by next year this time, we'll be sitting here, we'll be seeing Ghana score about 57%.
That would be awesome.
Because
that would be awesome.
The president is into work, and he's going to work
very well. Like I said,
for the benefit
it's
of the people
only
of
a matter of time.
Yes,
time will tell. And Madame Kwafo, in that tape, said something which is quite relevant or quite you know, important to reiterate, that with the measures that are being put in place, we hope to see, you know, Ghana go high in terms of the rankings, and talking about the digitization, which obviously will cut out the human elements. I believe Nana mentioned that in his earlier submissions. Also with the kind of, how do I say, is it the verb that is coming in from the Auditor General's office or department seeking to, you know, disallow and surcharge. Obviously, we'll see a certain deterrence there. We'll see a certain deterrence coming from that. Of course, there's the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which we are yet to see take, you know, full charge, hit the ground running and all of that. So hopefully we will see something better in a year's time. But it's not just saying, we need to back it up, exactly, with action, definitely. But Mr. Kwebu, let me ask you this. It seems, yes, we've been, you know, trying to fight, do certain things, efforts here and there, but some would say that it seems to be focusing on the curative side and not the preventive. So we wait for it to happen and then we begin to rush. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can prosecute these people. And I mean, our levels of prosecutions and convictions, obviously nothing to write home about. How do we ensure that we up our game in terms of the preventive side?
Okay. Basically, I would say that, you see, it's an eclectic approach. We are doing all at the same time. Just as we are discussing here, you see, indirectly, we are also doing a preventive aspect of the fight against corruption, because we are generally reflecting the sentiments of society against corruption. So I would say that we've been doing all in tandem. You see, one message, this in sense, or let's say one statement sends different messages. Okay, yes, but apart from that, also fortunately in the 2017 budget, in paragraph 736, it's very exciting. Shraj says that this year they are going to investigate 11,800 cases. Yes, under the NACAP, the National Anti-Corruption Program.
Right.
that's what Siraj is. I mean, that's what the information they gave the minister. So it's good that we begin to watch. This is February.
No,
so
but now that SP has been put in place, all this will go to the SP.
No,
but
but
Siraj
no,
would
the
still maintain.
SP, yes, they will still maintain
Corruption
their
issues are now
no, constitutionally you can't take
Siraj
it away.
has the
We've now
mandate.
amended the constitution. So, and we even need more people.
there's a
SP
problem
doesn't
with
even
the-
have men.
So there's a problem with the act.
No, not
Necessarily.
problem. It's a
Because
huge.
all corruption-related matters have been hived away. And given
Under
to-
from
No,
the Procurement
Yeah.
Act.
You see,
those
under the
contravene-
constitution,
yes.
Siraj has that mandate. You cannot totally take it away. You see, we need
cannot
more
even
men.
take it away.
Yes, SP, the special prosecutor needs men. He hasn't even started. Let him start. When he starts and he's doing a very good job, I think we should amend the constitution. We'll come there. But for now, we need a lot of men. We don't even know how many prosecutors and investigators the SP is going to employ. That's why I said maybe next week we should look at the
budget
budget.
allocation.
I'm looking for, so far, what I'm saying is that this is what Siraj gave the minister, and this is what the minister presented to Parliament, that this year they are doing 11,800 cases. They also say that's investigation of those cases, corruption cases.
And they'll be able to do that if they have the requisite funding.
Yes, I
or the budget
presume so.
allocation.
I presume so. That's one. Number two, in the same budget, 736, they say that they are going to do 4,200 education and sensitization activities to improve the standards and service delivery in the public sector. You see, 4,200. These are two.
So that's speaking to preventive.
Yes.
issues,
Okay.
right.
Yes. Now we also have the Office of the Special Prosecutor. In the Act, it's also stated that he should do education or take other steps to prevent corruption. We always have had our media. You know, one thing we haven't celebrated much is that the Abu Ghapeli case. It was Manasseh who started it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, young people are doing great.
Totally.
But once they, you know, by
People
offering
in the
thing-
media, yeah.
Exactly. Yes, young people are doing
Manasseh
great.
has gone to sleep.
Oh, how would you say so? How would you say so? He's still on. When even he took on the president, yes, in December, I didn't read that article when he said.
Mr. Kwebu, carry on.
Yes.
Let's not be sidetracked by that.
Okay.
We'll go there.
Yes, so with this, and then looking at the good job that the media are doing, it's very clear that hopefully this year it will be far better, far
We hope
better.
so.
But we also want to call on Parliament, okay, the president, to expedite action on the right to information bill, because I mean it's embarrassing. We can't have. We've been on this for a decade now. It's so embarrassing. What are we hiding? What are we hiding? Because if citizens don't have the right to information in an accessible manner, how do we fight the corruption?
Which is what
So-
the Transparency International in their analysis said. I mean, beyond, the rhetoric, you need to do the implementation.
Exactly.
You know.
Justice Anthony Ibua did well with that ruling in the High Court. I mean, asking that's a Bass Brandon saga, right? So yes, but that's not sufficient because we need to have a full act so that there will be timelines for giving out this information when citizens want to access it. Other issues such as if the citizen wants the information, should it be on a pen drive, should it be on a CD or hard copy? You see, so please, even though we know there's a High Court decision, please, I think that we should hurry up with it so that we can get the fight on. So with these things together, I think generally we're on a good path. Sometimes in life, it gets worse before it gets better. Yes,
So
maybe.
you think we are the worst part now?
Yes,
so
yes,
we're going
but
to get to the
from
better
this
part.
side, the trajectory looks positive.
I just hope so that we
Yes.
get to that point.
Yes.
But still on Transparency International's issue and their analysis of it, they try to, they put out the reports and try to compare the various regions of the world. So you're looking at the Middle East and North Africa, you're looking at Sub-Saharan Africa, and obviously Sub-Saharan Africa fared badly. I mean, it was just bad. Out of the 5 regions, it was just bad. But then they are saying that that the released Corruption Perception Index provides a good baseline for the African Union anti-corruption efforts in 2018.
Okay.
And it's interesting that this year's theme for the AU, and of course, when it comes to this side of the world, we like very big themes. Catchy themes. We'll put out all the themes, but whether we do them or not is another thing. Now, this year's theme for the AU is, quote, winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation.
Okay.
So they're saying that as the AU rolls out its plan, the performance of Africa or sub-Saharan Africa on the CPI is the baseline that they can use to move on. So again, it comes back, like I'm saying, beautiful theme here. We have the nice themes, grandiose ideas, but implementation is always the issue. Isn't that the thing, Gary?
That is so.
The paradox of
You did a political will. You did a political will. It's so important. You see, because if the political will is not there, obviously you cannot achieve what you want to achieve. You know, so I think that this regime, having accepted the challenge to ensure that the public purse is protected, as the president has been saying all the time, even on the inauguration he said it, that he is going to ensure that the public purse is protected. So I think that we should all, you know, give the support to the government and also open our eyes and keep the government also in check, and then give constructive criticisms. Nobody is saying that you shouldn't criticize the government. You have to criticize the government by the constructive manner,
right?
In a way that will also, you know, provide alternatives and all that, but not just to keep shouting on the rooftop.
Very well.
Corruption, corruption, corruption,
well.
corruption. When you say bring evidence, you say you have no evidence.
Let's take some messages from our viewers and listeners. Quite a lot coming through. I'll try to read as much as I can. This is Michael Amin. He says, Martin Amidu now sworn in as the special prosecutor, and the conviction of 2 out of many who were indicted in the Jada scandal will go a long way to enhance the next corruption perception index by Transparency International. The abysmal performance of Ghana in this latest CPI is a worrying situation, and it's a shame to us all as a nation. And this is not the time for a blame game. There's a need for all state agencies in fighting corruption to adopt a holistic and pragmatic approach in dealing with the canker, because this canker is depriving Ghana the needed resources for development. Mustafa in Tamale Poli says, the conviction of Abu Gapile and Asibit is in the right direction. This is just the beginning, and anyone who is found guilty of corruption and mismanagement of Ghana's resources shall cough them out. Muftau from Bolga Zongo says, Allah will save Ghana through the administration of Nanado, as said by the NDC communicators. If we are corrupt, prosecute and jail us. NDC communicators are creating problems for the government appointees. It says 2 are gone. We are waiting for Mr. Martin Amidu. We need our stolen monies. AU Farouk and Tamale says, good morning. We urge the special prosecutor to start his prosecution from the office of the president, who has not been able to prosecute any of his appointees who have been accused of major corruption allegations. We wait to see how the special prosecutor will be just in his, you're saying judgment, but I believe what you intend to say is in his work, maybe, because he's not the one going to be judging or sitting on the matters that will be prosecuted. Good morning, madam. My name is Idrisu, sending this from Tamale. I'm always surprised the way Ghanaians talk about Mr. Martin Amidu as the special prosecutor who can correct things in the country. He was with the PNDC when the first lady, okay, you're making some allegations. So when the first lady bought in Saram Canary and did not pay, what about the Vanef STC and the numerous government buildings the then first lady is alleged to have taken through the December 31st movement? It says, and the numerous government institutions that were sold to the PNDC secretaries, allegedly, the big monies that were stolen under, he says, under Dr. Obed Asamoah's bed without realizing the monies that were stolen, all allegedly. I listened to Martin Amidu's corroborate the views of the NPP serial callers that it appears he's going to be a judge, such that once he mentions your name, you are pushed into jail. Not true. The same man the NPP boasts as not being able to prosecute even one of their ministers. This is funny. And this is Berima in Jene. Good morning, Abna. Before Ghana solves the issue of corruption in public offices, we need to totally eradicate corruption in the security services of Ghana. I believe all Ghanaians should march and campaign against corruption. That's Osman in Tamale. Good morning, Abna. Please let us not think that with the mere appointment of Mr. Martin Amidu is a solution to fighting corruption in this country. What is needed is our collective attitudinal change. But why did I'm not quite getting this. You're asking why we didn't have a NDC member on the panel? Well, Mr. Maliba is here. And this is coming in from Prince Ayuba in Tamale. Maybe he doesn't know you enough. I have no doubt in the capability of the special prosecutor, but he has to be careful with the people in his office. He says NPP will appoint you, and when you come, they'll disappoint you like they did to Malam Isa in the Kufuor regime. That is Somo Hamza in Tamale. I think we can pull the brakes on the messages now and return to the panel. Just concluding thoughts on the CPI, and then we move on to look at the conviction in the case of Abuga Pele and Mr. Asibit there. Concluding remarks, Nana?
I think that there is hope. For me, democracy gives us hope, you know, and we are on the right path, given what is prevailing, you know, with the press, with civil society activism. There is hope. What we need to do beyond expose is to now push for strong institutions. We should be finding out in the budget how much are being located to some of these state institutions that fight corruption. We should now be having discussions as to how best we can reduce corruption in our public services beyond just exposing them, which is what we have been doing all these years. And so gradually we are moving to a certain place where, you know, some of these things are going to reduce. I also believe that when political parties are kicked out of power because of excessive corruption, then leaders are also going to sit up, which is what we have seen, you know, in the last few, you know, election seasons. And so there is hope.
Very well. I'm being taken out to take a break at this point. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll move on to the Jeddah convictions. You're watching and listening to New Day Saturday edition. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching and listening to New Day Saturday edition. We're live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, and we're streaming live around the world online at 3news.com. Also on our Facebook page, TV3 Ghana. We'll be moving on next to look at the convictions in the Jeddah case that was pending before the Financial and Economic Division of the High Court, Accra. For some time now, I believe 4 years. Eventually, the court gave its judgment yesterday, and it was the breaking news topical issue where the former national coordinator of Jeddah, Mr. Abuga Pele, and Mr. Philip Asibit were convicted and sentenced to respective jail terms. We'll be looking at this issue and what it does moving forward in our fight against corruption. I'll start with you, Mr. Martin Kebu. What does this judgment mean to you, or mean for Ghana?
So the first thing is that, you know, as a lawyer, we've not had
the copies. Benefit of reading.
Yes, yeah. So the comments are made subject to the fact that we haven't read everything. So let's say symbolically, it represents some steps forward in our fight against corruption. Of course, I'm aware the convicts are already saying their lawyers said they are going to appeal. Yes, so until they appeal, at least we can make some comments that this is this represents some giant steps towards the fight. Okay, now also the other side of it is that for the conviction to have come at this time, just at the back of our dip in the fight against corruption, you see that what it has done is that it's rekindled and then brought some buoyancy. Right. So it's good because we are just taking some serious knocks. We're virtually on the ground, so to speak, because it looked like the situation was so bad. So the conviction haven't come at this time. It looks like, oh, no. It doesn't mean we are done.
And it's important to note in there, to tie in there, that this process started under the previous regime.
Yes.
So a government seemed to be taking action
against its own.
Yes.
That's very positive too. Yes, that's one of the positives we should celebrate, because all too often it's made to look like each government doesn't prosecute its own. But earlier on, we had made the point that Malam Issa was prosecuted whilst he was part of the Kufuor administration. Mr. Abuga Pele was prosecuted whilst he was part of the Mahama administration. Yes, so, excuse me. It tells you that as a people we are evolving. It's good. I see positives in it. We are fighting on, and that should be it. Ghanaians, we've always been we've always been unique. We will fight in our own unique way. And I think gradually we are making progress.
Very
Yes.
well. Now, like you said earlier in the previous discussions, this whole issue came as a result of an expose done by one brilliant journalist,
Yes.
Manasa Zuri,
Yes.
and he did a good job there. But following that expose, a number of directives were issued by the then President John Dramani Mahama, including cancellation of all contracts or contracts that didn't pass value for money tests under the scheme. There was also a directive for the refund of monies, also directive to institute legal actions against individuals found to have engaged in malpractices. Obviously, this conviction we're seeing is come as a result of this directive. And then also the AG to expedite work on the JIDA bill for submission to Parliament. Eventually, we saw that happen and all of that. So against the background of these directives, certain actions were taken. Like I said, we've
Yes.
seen the prosecution of this one. But of course, we do know that the JIDA report had a number of people indicted beyond Mr. Abugapele and Mr. Azibit. Other people, other entities, private entities were mentioned and all. Question then is, what we've seen with this, would we say this is just the tip of the iceberg, or there are bigger things yet to come? And I'll throw that question to Gary.
I'm not my turn. I thought you were going to go to my boyfriend.
No,
So you don't decide who to speak.
Yes. So carry
Are you
on.
the one who decides who speaks it?
Take it easy, guys.
Anyway, I would.
Good.
You see, yes. Let me also admit that I've not had a full complement of the judgment to read. So I will rely on the public reportage and also the comments I have heard from the lawyer of Mr. Asibit yesterday on your sister radio station to make my arguments. Well, corruption indictment allegations in the JIDA report. In fact, we are told in a report that it is not only Mr. Bugapele and Mr. Asibit who were indicted, but we are now told that only the two were put before the court. And you had a very brilliant question.
Guy, when you say indicted, which one is it, legally indicted or as a lay person?
No, the report, the JIDA report itself.
Okay.
The report itself, you know, that's what we are told. Now, what we now know is that only two out of the rest were put before court, and now there's a judgment to the effect that, well, they are guilty of the charges which were put before the court, rightfully or wrongfully. Once the judge makes a pronouncement that you are liable, until there's an appeal to overturn the decision of the High Court, or otherwise, you proceed to serve the sentence. That is unfortunately what it is. Yesterday, I had my very, very good friend, Koku Pente, arguing forcefully on the radio station that he was of the view that the conviction was wrongful. I'm not here to say whether he is right or wrong, because he conducted the case. And he was, advancing very, very valid points. That as a matter of fact, Mr. Sibit was charged for making false representation to the extent that a job that he claimed that he had done, he did not do, but he was paid for the work. But then, according to him, it turned out at the trial that the prosecution was now saying that, well, the work was done, but not satisfactorily. So in his view, different issues were now emerging. I think that our appeal will come out for us to see whether the conviction will be overturned or it will be sustained. At this stage, I am highly handicapped to say whether the appeal will be overturned. But as it stands now, 6 years and 12 years, even a day in custody is not an easy thing at all. In fact, if you have gone to his home yourself to go and visit the inmates who are there, and you see their conditions that they have in there, you realize that a day in custody is not an easy thing at all. It's a very difficult, challenge to spend a day even in custody. But by and large, this is also send a signal to all political office holders and even businessmen that deals, with the government agencies for businesses, that if you are not careful and your activities is found out that something or some wrongful conduct is emanating as a result of the business that you did with the government, and that there are some certain procurement irregularities, or there are certain payments which have been made which ought not to have been made, then obviously you'll be in trouble. And I've been saying this consistently on any opportunity that I get, that if you are in public office, do not assume that that office is your private enterprise. There will be a day of reckoning. There will be a day of accountability. And when that day cometh, you have to account for your stewardship. And therefore, in my humble view, if you are put in public trust to manage any public office, whether it's a government agency, government department, minister, deputy minister, you must put at the back of your mind that there will be a day of reckoning, a day that you have to account. Because the money that you are approving, is not your personal money, but it's rather public money. And public money is regulated by laws and how it should be done. So I think it should be a clarion call for everybody who is now in government to be very, very careful. Because if the day of reckoning cometh and you're unable to properly discharge or to show cause for what you did, then obviously you'll be found in the wrongdoing, and you'll be in trouble. And now we are being told that we shouldn't come and beg. So nobody can go and beg. And if you go to court and at the end of the day you are convicted, then obviously, the family, your people, your dependents, will be in trouble. But the bottom line is that we should not, by so doing, condone any act of corruption. We should ensure that when you are given the charge to manage public money, you manage it in a manner that you can say that having given you the opportunity, you did it dutifully, you did it very well. Right. You didn't embezzle public money and all that. But for the others who are also in the report, I'm not here going to mention anybody's name. The report is there for all to see and all to read. If they think that, those people too were to some extent culpable, I think that Mr. Matiamidu is there to look into all those matters and to find out whether there's a way to look into all those matters. But I think that we must all be very careful in the way we conduct our affairs in the public space. Very well. Because there will be a day that you have to account. And that day of reckoning, when it cometh, or when it comes, you are unable to show cause, you will obviously be found wanting. Very well. These are my comments on it.
That's fine. I'll go to Mr. Maliba here. Mr. Maliba, I mean, our discussions so far have been on, fight against corruption, what we can do to either deter or prevent, or, when it does happen, how we cure it. So, and one of the means to deter, corruption is seeing that wrongdoers are brought to book. So here's a case where the report came out, a number of people implicated and all of that, businesses, private entities and all of that. Now we've seen action in respect of these two. Should we see more people being, taken to court, or more action against the others that were named in the report?
Abena. I've never found it difficult to discuss a topic like this one.
I know.
My heart is beating very fast.
I could tell. You were panting.
Because the Abu Gapele is a personal friend to me. Right. Very, very personal friend. He said, he's my friend. So, I won't comment on it.
Exactly.
So if you can let it pass.
You're not going to comment?
No.
Very well. I will respect that, because you have your right to remain silent, even in a criminal matter. So, Nana, I'll put that question to you. A number of, people mentioned private entities implicated in the JIDA report. I mean, definitely yes, all of that. But we've seen action taking in respect of these two. I ask a question: is this the tip of the iceberg? Should we dig deeper? Because it all goes to support the, proposition that if you are fighting corruption, you should be seen to be diligent and committed and sincere.
I agree with you. It's the tip of the iceberg. Not only is it the tip of the iceberg, they were sacrificial lambs for that whole JIDA scandal. It was not a sincere attempt to punish those who misapplied state funds.
But you're saying it as if it's a done deal, but it's not, is it?
No, I'm looking at the historical perspective of it. I'm taking a historical perspective of it. We all know the quantum of money that went down the drain through that JIDA scheme. We know the personalities who were involved. Look, Better Ghana Management Services, payments that were made to that entity over a period of 10 months, right, is alleged to be in the sum of 240 million cedis. Better Ghana Management, which is a subsidiary of the Zoom Lion Group, of the Jospon Group. It's alleged by the report that payments amounting to 240 million cedis was made to that group. What has been heard of it? Meanwhile, the amount of money that these two personalities are said to have, woefully caused a loss to the state.
That's 4.1.
It's 4.1. So when you compare just this one to even the quantum of money that was paid to Better Ghana Services, Management Services, this one pales in significance, right? But pennies do count, and so this money do, that's really counts, and therefore it was good. However, it's really a tip of the iceberg. We have not gone after the big fishes. The Azuntaba Group alone, huge sums of money was paid to them for one service or the other, which was not really provided. And in that regard, you are right in saying that is the tip of the iceberg in terms of the prosecution.
Per the report, just to back up that, per the report, Azuntaba was paid to train, but didn't do the training. And training here had to do with about 32,000 youth in 7 modules at the cost of some 43 million Ghana cedis. And it's reported that many of the youth were not trained. One of the modules was a guinea fowl rearing module aimed at training about 2,000 youth in the 3 northern regions. Azuntaba is reported to have received full payment but failed to do the training.
And the strange thing about these schemes is this: they were all paid in advance. They were all paid in advance. So clearly, it was a scheme to loot. And I say that without any apologies. It was a scheme to loot. They were all paid in advance. Meanwhile, contractors, road contractors, they take loans to construct roads for a year or in excess of a year. They are not paid. These people were given money in advance. And in some instances, in breach of statute, they were given loans in some instances, right? And so when you end up prosecuting 2 people who only caused a loss of 4.1 million cedis, then it raises question about your sincerity in dealing with the scandal that came from that sector. And so I agree with you, as I said. I would expect that going forward, we are going to take a whole holistic view as to what happened at JIDA, which is now YEA. The moment the scandal happened, we're told that an act was now being put in place, as if the act was in itself, a panacea to preventing corruption at that sector. It didn't. We all know the way and manner, and a little digression. You see, we allow people to insult the intelligence of Ghanaians, especially the elite, the political class, the elite political class. Look, when you even hear the names of some of the people, some of the companies that were involved, right? Any anti-fraud expert should pick it up that this company is meant to perpetuate fraud. Because a political party came into office on the mantra of Better Ghana, somebody now forms a company and calls it Better Ghana Management Services. Ridiculous.
But the person is entitled to any name they choose.
Check.
Now you're sounding like the Beth and
I'm saying that if you've worked with anti-fraud, I'm saying that if you've worked with anti-fraud agencies before, you should names. Yes, it should be a red flag. Names ought to raise red flags. If you worked with anti-fraud, and I'm saying this from some experience, it should raise a red flag. Okay. Street Naming Company Limited, because there's going to be a contract for street naming and so on and so forth. So I think that this government has a responsibility. Historically, governments don't probe themselves. Succeeding governments tend to take on that responsibility. They should go after that money. They should go after that money. And it should be paid with interest. Because you see, Ghana has lost too much money through such schemes. And unfortunately, we seem to continue with such schemes. Okay? Youth enterprise and so on and so forth. We need to review them.
Very well. I would want us to look at those creations that make us susceptible to these kinds of things. I mean, it was NYEP, it became JIDA, now YEA, and all of those things. We'll go into that. But Mr. Martin,
let me state that.
Okay.
Let me state that.
I'm happy you're joining.
Those companies that were advanced monies and they did not perform were asked to refund.
But have they done that?
Yes, yes. In fact, Aksuntaba.
But not all.
Not
the last
exactly.
time, not even a substantial part.
No. But then this commission should continue. What I'm saying is that it's not as if they were left.
But
because those ones were born out of contracts, you could not say that they were criminal in nature. And so the Attorney General at the time, together with the Deputy Attorney General, Dominic Ayino, was on that beat, had to have discussions with them, and they started paying. I don't know the state of affairs now, but if they have not completed, like you rightly said, this government should continue, and then we'll recover our money.
Very well, because I mean, we do know that, I believe Manasseh Azuri indicated that RLG and two other subsidiaries of the Agams Group owe the state over 50 million Ghana cedis from interest-free loans given without parliamentary approval. No payment when the time for payment came. That was sometime in 2011. And I think it was said somewhere that these payments had been made, but he came out to deny that it had been made. So, Mr. Martin, like I said, we'll go into the creations that, you know, give opportunity for such schemes to occur. But I'd want you to touch on moving forward and dealing with the others that were implicated in the report. Obviously, Banana is talking about the fact that these two people were, if you like, were made scapegoats. But that is not deterrent enough if we want to really deal with the corruption issue as it is.
Yes. So, you see, at that time, it was the, what would you say, the discretion of the Attorney General. Okay. But to the extent that now, under this current regime, all cases related to corruption have been hived up to the special prosecutor, then it means that the report should be forwarded to him. Then he would take a second look. Yes, because you can see that the AG under this government is not going to be involved in prosecuting corruption or corruption-related offenses. So let's forward it to the special prosecutor so that he can review. You know, increasingly, you see, as a society, as we condemn people, we also realize their right to also be heard. So the report is what it is. Let Mr. Hamidu look at it. If he thinks there is evidence, then
for me, I think it would be in the interest of persons implicated for this matter to be tried. Yes. So that if you are acquitted, that's it. Okay. Otherwise, it would still be, you know, hovering around
this
you.
This report is different from the SADA one, the Guinea fowl one. Okay, okay. So let's look
this one has an element of Guinea
yes.
fowl, although, but not necessarily.
Yes. So let's look at it. Let Mr. Hamidu look at it, and then we'll see, because he'll be closer. You know, sometimes it's difficult to give an objective opinion when you haven't actually been close to the action. Yes. Exactly. So when he looks at it and then he has opportunity to check some of the lines of evidence, he will be able to better advise.
Is not
time bad.
Yes. No, but that particular thing we should move from it, because you see, you can't just put a sword around somebody's neck for so long. Elsewhere, there are limitations. You see, that is one thing.
But you are talking about law reform. I'm just talking about what is happening.
What it is at the moment, yes, which is there's nothing, no statute barring the prosecution of crime as we sit here. Yes, but Gary, quickly on this, moving forward, how is the government going to deal with this situation?
Oh, I think I share the sentiments of my brother Martin. I mean, now we have set up an office to deal with corruption-related offenses and procurement irregularities. So I think it's easier handing the report over to Mr. Martin Hamidu to look at the report and then determine whether or not to proceed to maybe charge others who are also in the report or decide otherwise. And then those who have been charged, they also have the right to answer. Now they are there in court.
Exactly.
And then, so for me, I think now we are in interesting times.
Yeah.
Yes, but we are in times that now everybody, at every stage that you move, you have to check your back.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where you're going to set your foot. That will give you a legal problem.
Exactly.
So I think this also is going to ensure that my brother Martin and then Amaleba making a lot of money, because Donado has created a lot of money for Mr. Amaleba, because with the setting up of this office,
it's a lesson.
Oh,
you also start prosecuting.
no, with the setting up of this office, clearly you agree with me that whoever is indicted and to appear before a court of law, whatever, you will need a legal services, and Amaleba will provide all the services. So indirectly, Donado has created a lot of employment for Mr. Amaleba to be doing.
Very well. Let me take some messages that have come in. This one says, I wish Mr. Abugapeli and Philip Asibi a safe journey to Nsawam as well. Real changes here. Regards to Chairman. Okay, we are greeting your Chairman in Lejokuku NPP. That's fine. Good morning, Abna. I want to ask, how will the monies be retrieved? I think Ghanaians are more interested in the retrieval of the money and not the jail sentence, which are small money left would be used to feed them. I think we need to interrogate this some more quickly. The retrieval, because the court ordered that
it's part of the judgment that
yes, assets and the monies. Yeah,
that's what I agree with the tester.
Yes, okay, assets.
You see, I have long heard this view that it is not enough to just say go to custodial, sentence, just go to prison. I hold the view that if at the end of the day the person agrees or the court finds that based on the facts and the evidence and the law, certain monies which reasonably have been wrongly parted or had gone to the person illegally, there must be order for reparation that bring the money back to the public purse.
And then set him free.
I'm saying that.
Whether you set him free.
No, wait a minute.
He's convicted. So
if you are convicted, it's a conviction. As whether you go to prison or not go to prison is another matter. You can be made to go to prison and still be made to pay the money. So I think that the focus now with even this SPB setup, we need to retrieve more of the monies. We need the money to do development work. We need the money. So if maybe one person holding $3 million, $5 million, you bring the money. And like Martin rightly said, pay the money with an interest component on it. Don't just pay the principal, pay the money with interest. I think with this one, people will begin to see that, when this office was set up, within a matter of a year or two, they were able to, retrieve X amount of money. Because if they come and say go to prison, yes, they can go to prison, all right.
It costs money to keep the prisoners
to keep them there. And you know one thing, there are some persons who prefer to go to prison and come back and spend the money. So when you say, well, they're going to go to prison, say, yeah, okay, they prefer that one. They'll go to prison, spend 6 years, 5 years, 8 years, whatever it is, and come back and enjoy the money. So I hold a humble view. I may be wrong, but that's my view. That there must be conscious effort to retrieve every cent, every dollar, every CD which has been wrongly paid to any individual back to public purse. If at the end of the day the person refunds the money, doesn't even go to prison, I prefer like that.
Yes, that's why I
prefer, because you see, now we are talking about even the congestion in the prisons. But if you are not careful, we will now be adding more to the prisons. Than even decongesting it. So there must be conscious effort to ensure that the monies which have been illegally been paid or wrongfully spent, whatever, to bring the money back to the public purse, so we can use the money for development projects.
Very well.
That's the way I see it.
That's fine. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll do a quick look at the 81% failure at the Ghana School of Law, the implications that has on the LI that is before Parliament, if indeed there isn't any implication in respect of that. You're watching NewDay Saturday edition. Stick and stay. We'll be right back. You're watching and listening to NewDay Saturday edition live on TV3, also on 3FM 92.7 and around the world online at 3news.com, also on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. We'll be wrapping up on the show very soon, but let me take some messages from viewers and listeners. This one coming in from Abdul Adudu in Tamale says, the credibility and commitment of Mr. Martin Amidu to ensure that corruption dies a natural death is a headache to NDC. Good morning, Abna. Most politicians have taken Ghanaians for a ride. We vote them to serve us, and the next thing they run our national purse for their children and grandchildren. It's my hope Mr. Martin Amidu will go after each and every one of the corrupt politicians. Abugapele and Asibit should not worry, because very soon some people will join them. I know for sure our Guinea files are on their way back. What about the bars branding? What of SNIT and NHIS? This is Osman in Bolga. Michael Amenin says, it's a welcoming news that at long last, an appointee of the Eswal Mahama-led government has been sentenced to prison for engaging in corrupt acts. But it's very disappointing that the big men who are involved in the Jeddah scandal were left out from prosecution. It's also good news that Martin Amidu has been sworn in as special prosecutor, and he should revisit the case again and prosecute all those involved in the scandal. This judgment should be a great lesson to all public servants who are entrusted with public resources to be vigilant when discharging their duties with the taxpayers' money. Nanado is not ready to fight corruption in his government. He's only thinking of his opponents being prosecuted, because anytime there's an allegation against any official in his government, he quickly comes out to defend, saying this will never help our nation, Ghana. This is Salisu in Kumasi. This one coming in has no name, but says, Abna, two people cannot steal government money alone. Where's the chief director, accountant, and internal auditors? What are we doing to ourselves? The courts must come again. And this is Amidu, sorry, he says, Amidu has been sworn in. We live to see. Last one here says, I think convicting corrupt politicians for me is not enough. They should refund the monies they have stolen and let them do community service. For instance, clearing the filth in the various cities is more humiliating than sending them to jail. That is Chris from Accra. Thanks for your messages coming through. We'll need to wrap up here, but last on the bill is the School of Law and the 81% failure that was recorded in the 2017 bar exams. Quickly, Mr. Madiba, what do you make of this development?
I described it as a national disaster because when you consider the fact that we need more lawyers. As lawyers, we know that you have to be traveling to other districts to handle cases just because in those districts you don't have lawyers there. And I thought that we were trying to bridge that gap and to ensure that we have more lawyers in the system. I've always said that it's better to have more lawyers and more doctors, because if the lawyer, the judge is a lawyer, the prosecutor is a lawyer, and the defense lawyer, if these three people decide that you are going to die, the doctor cannot save you. So I think that there must be a committee put in place to investigate the cause of this massive. It's not as if this is the first time people have failed. They do not time there were failures, but
not
because
on this scale.
it was too infinitesimal that you may even not want to talk about it. But now, 81% is huge, and so I have made a point that we need to investigate this. But let's look at it. In our time, it was our own lecturers who were marking. Now there's an independent examination board. So what is the message? Is the message that the lecturers are not good enough to examine the students? I thought that if you were good enough to teach, you should be good enough to examine.
But there are instances where you have independent, like WAEC does for...
No, that's for the younger ones.
Yeah.
But, and so we need to find out what was wrong with our system, where our lecturers who taught us and set the questions to our understanding, because then you know how to tailor your answer, because you know what the lecturer is looking out for. But you have somebody teaching, somebody out there marking.
There's a disconnect.
Chances are that this will happen. And so we need to revisit that old system.
But on that, this isn't the first time the EIB is, or the IEB is setting questions. It's been in force for the past 4 years, and we haven't recorded it.
Yes, so but you also know that there have been issues around this board. You remember there were, last year, was it the same students who just came, boycotted a paper because they didn't appreciate the way the exam was, the question was crafted. Apart from that, there have been issues about delays in releasing the results and all those things. I just want to know what was the mischief in the old system such that they used this one to cure it? And if so, if it is not working well, can't we revert to the old system?
Very well. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we just touch and go, touch and go. Mr. Fable, yes, on this one. Do you agree with what Mr. Maliba is saying, the Independent Examination Board, do they have a blame, can they be blamed in this, you know, issue?
Well, you know, this matter is very complex to the extent that, to be candid, my thoughts are still evolving on this matter. Yes, because it's so complex.
Right.
But at the end of the day, to the extent that the failure rate is so high, it's abnormal. It's abnormal. So because of that, the IEB and the General Legal Council need to relook at the situation. They have to reconsider and see what can be done, because it doesn't only tell that the students, the candidates are not good, but it also tells that the system itself is not well designed. You can't design a system that will bring out a failure rate of 81%. It means that, I mean, the blame goes both ways. So we'll kindly, so kindly ask that they look at it again and see what can be done.
Very well. Now, Gary, so in view of what has happened, I mean, there are those who are of the mindset that, or the view that the LI, which is before Parliament, which, you know, was essentially drafted to regularize the new, you know, requirements for admissions into the school, is unnecessary then. I mean, because if the argument is we're trying to sift to get quality, well, you use that same approach, but this is what you're getting.
I don't think it's unnecessary. I don't think so at all. You see, let me first of all state that no one goes to school and write examination with the intention of failing the examination. Nobody. I mean, the students, obviously, they want to pass. Now, the examiners also on the other side wants to bring out the best for the system.
Right.
My friend Maliba says we need more lawyers. It is a fact that we need more lawyers, but that is it also we need more lawyers, so they must, you know, pump the system and let everybody come out as a lawyer? The answer is no. I think that by and large, the approach that the students are using in this matter, to me, is not the best approach. I have listened to them going to the media, ranting and raving all over the place. You see, if you written an examination and they say 81% of you fail, the approach is not to come to the media. The media cannot pass you or look at the papers for you to raise it and or whatever.
Maybe they want attention, a certain kind of
attention. No. That attention is needless.
They say radio gets results.
That attention is absolutely needless, because you see, I'll be shocked to the bone to see the head of the General Legal Council, the Chief Justice, cave into public pressure because people are giving pressure or talking about it. Then they will just call the papers and say, we have now marked about 30 of you, also you have also gone, you have just passed. No. I think that what they ought to have done was to have soberly taken the results, use the structures put in place for remarking in a very quiet and sober manner. Not the media.
Quickly, before I move to Nana, the remarking issue, it cost about 3,000 to get it remarked. They're talking about the how it's overly exorbitant.
It's too exorbitant.
Well, it's another matter for discussion. You see, but the question is 81%. How did it happen? Is it that the students themselves are not good students? Or is it that they were not taught well? Or they didn't appreciate the questions that were put to them at the examination? You see, let's not forget one thing. Exams alone is not a yardstick for measuring whether the student understands the program or otherwise. Sometimes you can genuinely flop the question. Genuinely. You see, so I think this is a whole bunch of things to be looked at. But me, the approach that they started using, I have a cause to worry.
Very well. I'm told I have 2 minutes to go, so let me.
You see, this topic is a very broad topic.
But unfortunately, we don't have time. We don't have that much time.
Less than 10 years ago, you were a student.
You know,
that's what I'm saying.
Firstly,
they should use the appropriate processes.
In brief, I think the media battle is part of a general strategy in the fight against the LI. And hence, some people trying to, fund this whole media battle of the students. It is wrong, as Gary has said. Secondly, the whole problem has to do with too many people, particularly in the media and even in Parliament, pursuing law. And so they think that this thing is not in their interest. So they are going to use where they find themselves, you know, as a means to fighting the General Legal Council. I don't think it is the best of approach. They need to reconsider their approach. Whoever has engaged some of them to be moving from social media to social media, I don't think he's doing a very good job to his paymasters. Finally, I think it is important for the General Legal Council itself, very respectfully, I mean, these are senior lawyers and judges, so you speak to them with due honor and respect, to let's take an introspection of the way and manner we have done things. You know, there's the need for some level of transparency and accountability. You know, the General Legal Council that was created by Osaje for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was created in a certain context at a particular time. Times have evolved. And when you go to places like England, now the Bar Standards Board has got people who are even non-lawyers in there. And so we may have to look at, you know, reforming the system. But in order that it wouldn't become it would not become necessary for people to say that bring non-lawyers into the General Legal Council, maybe we ourselves would have to take a second look at the way and manner we are doing our things.
So you think
look,
there should
in terms of even regulation of lawyers, I think there are issues now. In terms of disciplinary procedure and so on and so forth. So the time has come for there to be, you know, a holistic introspection. But the strategy by the students are wrong. I think the General Legal Council needs to reform itself because it is unfair.
We need cool heads. That's what it is at the moment.
A student fails exams and you say he should pay 3,000 cedis for a remark. I don't think it is proper.
Very well.
It is excessive. I mean, it's not good.
Unfortunately, this is where we have to, you know, draw the curtains. We don't have much time to go into this, but we do hope that you have enjoyed spending time with us this morning. We are grateful to our panelists, Mr. Abraham Amaliba, Mr. Martin Pebu, Mr. Gary Nemako, and NewDay Bafwewa. Until next week, do have yourselves a very good weekend and a productive week. We'll be back same place, same time next week. My name is Abna Tebi. Have a good day. Bye-bye.